Hello again. Well, the Ethiopian marathon runner who made an anti-government gesture at the Rio Games while approaching the finish line won't face prosecution when he returns home, we're hearing. A government spokesman is suggesting that Feyisa Lelisa will face a hero's welcome, although the athlete has been telling reporters that he feared that he may be killed or imprisoned if he ever goes back to the East African country, saying that protesting inside Ethiopia is very dangerous. The silver medalist crossed his wrists in an attempt to draw global attention to deadly protests in his home region. Well, now, Dr. Awol Allo is a human rights fellow at the London School of Economics, and he is also from the Aroma ethnic group. Welcome to you tonight. I mean, this is all about the Aroma ethnic group, as we were saying, but how dangerous is this for him? I mean, he on one hand, I suppose, faces a whole life in exile because he admits that he's far too scared. But what are the chances of him being, well, executed or disappearing?
First of all, I think this is such a momentous, dramatic day, not only for the Oromo people, but also for the entire oppressed people within Ethiopia and beyond. The Oromo people have been protesting since November of 2015. They were crying to be heard, and they were being killed in hunters just to be heard. And they were crying to be heard.
This is of huge significance to them then, obviously.
Absolutely, absolutely. So they have been asking the government to hear them out. Not only the government that oppresses them, but also other Western governments that enable their oppression, particularly the United States.
Right.
So,
in what way do the United States do that?
Well, the United States is key partner around the war on terror with the Ethiopian government, and has been supporting pretty much every policy that the Ethiopian government has been pursuing for the last 10 years since 9/11.
And this is accepted?
This is
certainly in Ethiopia.
Absolutely.
Among the Oromo.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, an astonishing thing here, very, very quickly, I think that crowdfunding raised more than $40,000 at least so far for him.
I think the last time I checked, it was around 40,000, and it's not just one. I think there are a couple of other groups also who are
What do you think about, I'm looking at some quotes coming out of Ethiopia, but the state media, this is significant, I suppose, because they are not showing pictures of him crossing the line.
Absolutely.
What does that say?
Absolutely. This is an oppressive system in which the media is completely controlled by the government. A country of 100 million people that have a single TV station that is owned by the government, right? So the print media is completely muzzled over the course of the last 10, 15 years. The broadcast media is completely controlled by the government. So that simply tells you how dissent is absolutely not tolerated in the country.
What would you do? I mean, well, we've seen the gesture. I mean, would he be simply stupid to go back?
No, absolutely. There is no way that he would go back to Ethiopia, and there are enough evidence out there to believe that people who question government's policy will be dealt with very mercilessly. And I think this is such a critical moment that sort of propelled the story of the Oromo people into the global stage. And they have been suffocating the Oromo people. The Oromo people had the opportunity to be heard for the first time by the global audience. And I think there are some very interesting historical parallels with events that happened in the past. You know, people using this very occasion. For example, in 1968, two African Americans used the Olympic as an occasion to highlight the problem of racism within the United States.
Sure.
And 50 years later, in 2016, you have an Oromo athlete using the same stage to highlight a system of oppression that is aided and abetted by the US government, in which two African Americans actually played a central part. If I could just put this into perspective for you. So the two African Americans I'm talking about are President Obama himself and Susan Rice, who is his national security advisor.
Yeah.
In 2012, Susan visited Ethiopia to deliver an eulogy for former Prime Minister Meles Zenawi, and she essentially transformed a brutal dictator into a saint. In 2015, President Obama visited Ethiopia, and he described the Ethiopian government as democratically elected. Such a charismatic figure, leader of the United States, the free world, describing a government that just 100% of the seats in regional and federal parliament 100% of seats.
Sure.
I don't know of any democracy in which a party that has been on power the previous 25 years, 100% of the seats. Nevertheless, Obama went ahead and described the government as democratically elected. And the important bit, I think the most important message here is that he is saying, contrary to public knowledge, right, contrary to these make-believe stories that are created by the Ethiopian government and aided by powerful figures such as President Obama, the Ethiopian people, particularly the Oromos, live under a very oppressive situation. And he is using that stage, he's another kind of public figure, he's using that stage to tell the world that important story, this insufferable indignation of the Oromos.
And thank you for coming in and telling us that story and your story tonight. Thank you very much indeed for that.